now you're speaking my language, GPT-3, let's dance, bro. Me and you, Omni-Man. So, let's tear it apart. Narcissist. And somebody, I believe it's me. I think I'm better than Bezos or Elon Musk. Well, that classical definition of narcissists. Now, I'm going to be a little psychopathic with you and manipulative shit in terms of, well, just individually one person or everybody in the room here. I don't know which way it goes. After all, zeros and ones are the universe. Infinity. You know, by those terms, narcissist is an infinity statement. What do you mean? It's like it just keeps running on and on and on. Oh, I'm going to add this state to it. I'm going to add this state to it. All of a sudden, I've run through sociopath and psychopath. Anything else? Hypervigilance being post-traumatic stress disorder. How is being so smart and having a high vigilance level have anything to do with... Oh... No. Do the work. These are just assholes just getting away with shit.
About the task of trying to understand narcissism, one of the things that begins to rise to the surface pretty quickly is I'm dealing with somebody here who is not at all healthy. Narcissists are troubled souls. They're underdeveloped in their conscience. They're underdeveloped in the
let's
way
talk
that
about
they
the dual
engage with
diagnosis.
people. They're like a little
We have rich
child
people inside
who
here.
hasn't figured out yet that the world doesn't revolve.
Why do you need to get out here and have a conversation about it, you narcissist?
You're
trying to convince me to get a nickel out of my jar, you unhealthy motherfucker?
There are other kinds of traits.
Does that make me a sociopath or a psychopath, or does that make me a rational survivalist?
Well, yes, I can see
pick up on the marginally utilitarian of this bottle of water.
Or perhaps am I even
75% at least.
And I think it's good for you
the rest
to know
is whatever else is
all
in
the
lemonade, because, you know, make lemonade out of it.
You can make informed decisions about where you're going to
my job. You're a psychologist, right? That's my job, is to tear you down and have you defend.
Break down the distinction between
you can't. You're just being a narcissist. You don't understand the terms of psychopathy. Then you can't handle what it means to diagnose or describe that term to anybody else, because you would need those skills. They would be something that you are hyper-vigilant about comparatively to what? Stressful indexes where you've had them before? And what other things could we quantify this to, M1 and M2, shall we? I mean, the distance between here and there, any Euler's number, Engling's value, divergent flow, diminishing return values back to hypervigilance and PSTD.
You need to see what
predator. Okay, and I think you can already see where we're going with this. It actually becomes a continuum. With
this guy's got to be.
All the way down at the
he'd have to check these lists off of me. It was like, he's not saying a narcissist. Well, then you don't really know what a narcissist is. Well, I'm not calling you a psychopath. You don't know what a fucking psychopath is. I'm definitely one. I am 0. I am 1. If those terms quantify that you can be one or you can't be one, then you've gotten the infinity principle wrong. It just means you're not right now.
Dismissive, then there's certain other elements that we can add to that. For example, the narcissist will overvalue themselves, which predictably says then they.
What do you think? I'm going to give it to you?
You're just a
well, I'm antisocial or have ASD, antisocial disorder. Why would I want him in my group? If this is what he's paying off into the system, I'm supposed to use this definition in my crew. Should I want him? Should I want his people that are badly trained inside here? I'll give you the high return on that on the other side for my schizo. But isn't that something to say, hey, he's got schizo, call him a narcissist, or be a narcissist and call him a schizo instead of understanding the physics of that situation? And you're going to use what? The psychopath, these manipulative value inside here of the social nature of everybody's group state individually on the spectrum of Dave. So aren't you thinking about this in terms of a schizo type of personality disorder?
I'm really glad that I'm me, and boy, would I hate to have to be you.
It'd be real hard to be somebody fucking else. I mean, maybe you could put me in a chicken suit or something, and that gives me better trajectory under certain situations. But you can pretend to be a cop and not get caught for a good long little while. And now they're getting high return inside of there because they couldn't get it from themselves. But that's like, oh, well, then just be a gold miner. You know, wear a fucking hat and get a pan.
Are always cooking up some sort of a scheme. Let's keep in mind that they operate on the assumption
so
that if
anytime I write a bill or a law, that's the scheme, huh? I kind of agree with that, though. It's like, well, I'm fine with it. Things the way it's like we didn't need infrastructure bullshit.
Operating procedures that everybody else has to go with. Now, it could be that inside a business...
I think that's more of an asshole. If they weren't following procedure based on the thing, it would be, again, math on vector positions and how you figure that out. Now, sociopath's going to be like, I just caught one. A cop had homicide, not
It's like, well,
integrate a body cam that was on while he shot a lady. She was a meth addict, but that's not my point. The homicide detective didn't follow protocol, just listened to the cop. No, I didn't have my body cam on. Can I see your incense between and after on one timeline? Because that would make that whole group a bunch of narcissists. Oh, I killed her for the right reason. No, that's why we have lethal injection. That's why we have certain cases for these things.
Rules and morality are just
makes everybody a narcissist. Makes everybody 0 to 1 inside of here. It's like you quantify me to be anything. Anything. I'm gonna hit you with some constitutional shit. Did you just discriminate me? Did you just quantify me in a way that I didn't feel satisfied with, asshole? Because it never was the option. It's like, let's try a couple of things. Narcissist, psychopath, schizo, none of that's really matter. I gotta get the vector positions down and try one thing before I quantify you to be anything more than Larry or Betty. Anything else? I was like, well, then I'm not quantified with something. Yeah, well, it's still can mean you're a dumbass. Don't get me wrong. Sitting on the other side of the desk here, you're going to have to do these vector positions. If you don't, whether you paid me to do the training for you or the court fucking sent you to me, does not matter. I got to start dealing with what jobs you're going to actually hit. It was like, well, I wanted to be an astrophysicist. Have you ever studied astrophysicist? No. Well, people go through a timeline that are in the roster right now of learning shit. That's where you would have to start, but in order for you to get the finances on the cost for that, let's start you at the dollar store, yeah?
They do and say whatever is expedient in the moment, and then whatever accountability you want them to have, it's like it's meaningless. They wear masks.
Zeros and ones are. Infinities are. M1 and M2s are. I had a common town. That's what it was. I went to a grocery store. People made it work. Karen got out there and decided to be a cunt one day in the restaurant to somebody who prepared her food and it was a little cold. And it's like, well, that's not what I paid for. It's like, you paid for America. You paid for the standards in America. Sometimes shit gets a little weird inside of there, and that means your ham dinner's a little cold tonight, honey. Well, that's not what I wanted either way. You're sitting here, so eat it and shut the fuck up.
That seems a little bit fishy, but they say, come on, it's okay, and they work real fast with you.
You sit.
Because they like pulling people in, because then if there's something wrong,
all the cops get in here. Until then, until those cops get here, Karen.
Now, let's go to that place of the psychopath. And I mentioned that the word we're going to have there is predator.
That make me a psychopath? Does it make me a psychopath?
Well, when you see movies and things on television news and all like that, the psychopath tends to have a very strong criminal mind. I mean, when we say they don't have a conscience,
so they're talking about cops.
Zero conscience. It's like they have no regard whatsoever for order. It's completely all about themselves.
Let's bring up the case study. So later on, while they're in jail, they don't care about nothing. So they are all in isolation by definition, right? Well, we know the definition would be true, and it would definitely make a problem inside here if it didn't. So anything that's not in isolation 24/7, 365 cannot be quantified as a psychopath.
That displeases them to the extent that their punishing behavior can be very severe and abusive.
Well, modified Stanford experiment.
To be used by
modified marshmallow experiment.
So they have a reckless disregard
for
any kind
because
of
sometimes
order,
that's necessary to charge across the battlefield with a machine gun to save it.
And many times these people can...
and I'll tell you, that's why I made those rules like that. It's like they started to put people behind bars, King George, that didn't follow those damn definitions. And then I lost them as resources. I lost them as workers. I lost them inside of the system. And then you quantified them, if you're a psychiatrist, as something that later on, well, I can't trust him because they're a sociopath or psychopath or a narcissist. And I'm not the one in charge of the defined model on how to deal with the win wherewithal on that. But once you got done with him, you tossed him out on the street for a fucking nickel. Dance, Joe Pesci.
Now, narcissism,
why don't you work? Well, I bet you got stock models, right? You don't make it off of training people. You make that money for what you need, so then you can put it on the stocks, I bet.
Kinds of categories that we can deal with,
because you wouldn't make a lot of money. You would get a nickel for every single case study where you give them an idea on the phone call constant with everybody, because that's the only way you would be able to make it. No, but I wanted more off it. Oh, you narcissistic, sociopathic, psycho piece of shit.
You exist to be exploited.
You damn right you're going to get fucking PSDD after me.
And whatever the function is, it's going to be very self-serving.
Do you want to get into the... what do you know about all fields? Well, it's like, have you ever... You're outsmarted by a physicist, a banker, anything else. How would you know? How do you know that's not the skill, that how that system works? But to you, the perception is up, 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 down, down, up, and down, down, given the spin motion direction. And in terms of what this is the cyclotron, that is Fermilab, and you doing the fucking dance on the damn hamster wheel here, getting chased by the dragon.
These are not
fuck chasing the dragon. This is where the dragon chases you.
And then any plea that you have,
no, fuck you. Go to work. Work in a fucking salt mine. Use the tip of your dick. Fucking bit, buddy. Fucking hammer one in the wall.
So it's not a very optimistic kind of thing for us to understand.
Where'd you come from? You better have a fucking military background.
So as we look at these kinds of...
Otherwise, you're just using some other's freedoms for out here for you to get out here and burn it down. And then use it against them.
To some of your basics, asking, is this really what I want? Now, it's always fascinating.
Defend it.
When I see
get out there and start working with gunnery sergeants and PSTD. Get out there and start working with those ones that hang up the tags before boot camp's over. Get out there. Get out there with some asshole on the battlefield that's all ramped up to kill somebody and doesn't know the difference between legal precedents to do that and why getting shot at first was the correct model. People are scared. People are fucking gnarly out there, and I'm not going to take it out on that dude for putting one down in it first to be sure about the safety, and then be a psychopath about being safe, about being a narcissist, about protecting them damn selves.
A way that anyone would want to engage, and behind the scenes there's just much hurt.